So how do you know when it's time to hire? When you're working 12-hour days, when your email inbox starts resembling a black hole, or maybe when you're having dreams about someone else handling certain tasks. Today on Behind the Brand, we're digging into a topic every small business eventually hits: how to handle growth, and more specifically, how to know when it's time to hire. Welcome to Behind the Brand, the podcast for small business owners, solopreneurs, and aspiring entrepreneurs who are ready to start strong, stand out, and stay bold. I'm Taylor.
I'm Kelly.
And I'm Isabella, and we're part of the powerhouse team of marketers at Moxie Creative.
We're taking you behind the scenes to explore what it takes to build and grow a memorable brand.
Ready to get behind the brand? Let's dive in. Hello, Moxieverse. How's everybody doing today?
I'm good. Just
good?
me.
It's just
yeah.
you?
Yeah,
It's just
me.
It's just you, Kelly. We are coming to you live from a new setup.
Yes, we're in this corner of the office.
Yes. So if you're watching on video, it will look a little bit different. We just wanted to try something out that maybe felt a little bit more polished and show off more beautiful office space that Kelly has decorated for us.
Yes, this is a pretty corner.
Yes, it is. So, like I said, today it's just me and Kelly, and we're sitting down to talk about really what it's like to be in the trenches of small business growth. As someone that has started not one, not two, but 3 businesses. I got that number right?
Yeah,
3?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. Small businesses in your lifetime. You know a lot about this, and I feel like these are really good messages that we can share with our audience and our community. So I'd love to just hear a little bit about what that journey into small business has been like for you.
In general or about hiring?
Yeah, in general, and then we'll get into the hiring piece.
Okay. Well, you know, when you start out, you don't know what you're doing and you make a lot of mistakes. I remember for the first business, when we thought we should hire, it was purely just because we thought we had too much work to do. But, you know, over the years, you need to think about that a little bit more. So typically when people are starting businesses, it's a technician that thinks that they can do what they're doing, but do it better or do it for themselves. Okay, so that was definitely what I did. I worked in an advertising agency for somebody else and then thought I could go and do it myself. So then, and partnered with another person that did their thing. So at first it was the 2 of us and we did that. And then pretty quickly we added another person to kind of complement what we could offer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is just one example. But typically you're coming into a business with some knowledge or you've done it before, right? Some people take it from another angle where they want to own the business, but they don't plan on working in it at all.
Yeah.
Like maybe they want to manage it, like maybe they buy a franchise and they're managing it, but they right away need to hire a crew of people.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, maybe a landscaping company or a painting company or whatever.
Yeah, those are hard to do.
A lot of service-based things like that. So that's going to look different for everyone, right? When it's time to hire. I can only speak to my expertise, obviously. But, you know, what are some of the signs? We could talk about that.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it sounds a lot like you've learned a lot over the last 15-ish years, you know, really how to ask yourself the hard questions, juggle growth, and scale businesses successfully because you have done it. I'm excited to sit down with you and just talk more about that. So I guess, you know, let's dive in. So let's start with kind of the moment when you realize I can't do it all anymore. And I know, you know, when you started your first business, it wasn't just you, but what kind of got you to that point where you both were like, maybe it's time to look at someone else to do this because it's not working this way?
Well, for us, it was pretty obvious that we needed to offer a service that neither my business partner nor I could do. And in this case, I'm talking about website development. Mm-hmm. We were in the same office building with a web company, though. And so we thought, hey, let's just outsource this, because that's an option too. You don't always have to hire within, you can outsource. So we thought we would work with this website company and let them specialize in it and work with our clients. But what we quickly realized is how they were set up, they couldn't be as responsive as we could be. Like we would run over there because they were across the hall from us and like, make this change. You're like, it doesn't work that way. You have to get all your changes together, you know. And so we realized that, you know, for whatever reason, it would be better to do it in-house because, you know, but that would have been a viable solution. You know, probably at that time, if we would have known more about websites, this is like a long time ago, 2009, we could have managed that better. But at that time, we realized, you know, we just weren't giving the best service to our clients. So that's a big reason why you should hire. If the clients, I don't want to say if they're complaining, but things are taking too long, you're not giving the quality, okay, maybe hire someone to help, right? 'Cause if you're not giving the service that you want, then definitely you need to get some help. That's a telltale sign, right?
Yeah.
So our first employee that we hired was someone that could do something we couldn't do. So we complemented our services to offer that to our clients.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was a website designer. So for our business, we had an account manager, a graphic designer, and then a graphic designer that could do websites.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then what did it look like when it came time to bring in someone that did the same things that
then-
you were already doing?
Yep. So we hired that third person like within a month.
Yep.
And then it was probably about 9 months later, I want to say, that we just started getting more and more clients. And again, not turning things around in a timely manner. Maybe we needed to hire. At that point, we didn't have a lot of cash to hire someone. So we started out, what everyone does, let's get an intern. So we went to St. Cloud State and found an intern, brought her on. And I think she interned for a few months, and then we hired her full time. So that's one way
It
to do
actually
it.
turned out then.
Right. You get what you pay for. She was new. She was entry level, but she did help us unload some tasks,
Yeah.
right? So that was good. So that was our fourth employee. Okay, here's a good example. Then our fifth employee was someone I met where I was giving a speech, a community presentation, and this was also a student that was graduating and came and asked me for a job. So I call this one bringing puppies home. This person appeared to me, and I'm like, wow, I could use her help. And then I hired her. So the need necessarily wasn't there, but the person was.
Sure.
And I say that jokingly because, did I need help? Sure, I thought I needed help. But also sometimes you hire when there's a great opportunity in someone, you kind of make room for them.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. My experience, the first half of my career where I worked for another business owner at an advertising agency, he would always want us to get the work first and then he would hire. But we never would hire because we'd get the work and he would just, maybe pay us overtime or give us comp time. And so we never really added to the team.
Right.
We kind of were the size we were, and we dealt with the ebb and flows that way.
Yeah. And that model doesn't necessarily work because there is a little bit of a training period, right? Even though you're bringing someone in who has a skill set, they still have to learn your workflows and the way that your business operates because no doubt it's going to be different from wherever they just were.
That's why that didn't happen. By the time we're like, hey, we're so busy, we need to hire someone. Well, that busy part is over. And no, you don't. We're fine.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a great segue to maybe talk about how we've expanded the Moxie team because when Moxie started almost 2 years ago, it was just 4 of us, and that was the intent. We were just going to go into it with a team of 4. It was going to be you and I, Michael as our creative director and web programmer, graphic designer extraordinaire, and then Brittany doing our graphic design primarily with layout things.
Yes.
We quickly expanded.
Right. And I brought a couple puppies home.
Yeah.
Because these puppies were very, very, very talented.
Yeah.
So we had a unique situation where we were flipping over to the new agency, but before we even turned that switch, Brittany had a baby.
Yeah.
So we were already down.
And I was about to have a baby.
Right. So that was a little different situation. So I don't know what we thought we were going to do, but that was it. We were going to figure it out, right?
Yep.
And so our friend Morgan Moe called me and was talking to me about the transition. He was freelancing, and I said, hey, do you want to just, fill in for Brittany while she's gone? He's like, yeah, I'll do that. But by the time we actually met, I'm like, you know what? Let's stop with the nonsense. Just come on full time. So that was bringing a puppy home, a puppy I knew and loved already. We brought him along, and I just don't know what we thought we were going to do without him. But so we needed him.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
So that's another case of, you know what? I didn't plan on it, but here was this incredibly talented person I had worked with before, and I'd figure out the rest, right? Okay, so you can do it that way too.
Yep.
Same thing with Isabella. Isabella is a family friend, really good friend of my daughter's, who just was talking to me, wanting to learn more about marketing. And I said, sure, you know what, come on in as part-time. And she was interested in social media. We had never had anybody work on social media, just that.
Right.
And she just wanted to work part-time because she wanted to do some other things. And so I'm like, what the heck? And, just brought her on another body, just, maybe she could just help me with anything.
Right, yeah.
We were going to be going.
Yep.
And then a couple months later, she announced to me that she would like to go full-time. And I'm like, okay, great. So again,
Which did work out.
yeah. So without knowing our need, because we were brand new, I hired the people.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to do that, especially in today's job market. If someone is, you think could be a great asset to your team, you kind of find a place for them and you find the money and you do it. So that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we just hired a new employee, Tyler, back in February. And the circumstances around him coming to our team was very different. We were in a position where we were needing to hire. It wasn't, we could see the writing on the wall that things were happening internally that meant we needed to bring someone else in. So can you just talk a little bit about that and how you came to that decision?
Yeah, so define needing. We knew Tyler before, so we did not put an ad out or anything. So in a way, it was a puppy that
Sure.
was someone else adopted. So he had the back of my mind, but this is what happened is beginning of the year, we're back from our holiday break and we were busy, and it wasn't that we had the work. And so, oh my gosh, we can't do the work. Let's hire someone. We weren't quite there. I could just see some red flags.
Yeah, our pipeline wasn't crazy full, but we were kind of behind on work that needed to get finished so we could move forward to fill up our pipeline.
Right. So this is kind of that red flaggy part that I think that would only have come to me because of my experience. Like I've been there, done that. And so for me, it was the well-being of the employees.
Yeah.
And I made a joke about this before, is that like we were burnt out. You were burnt out, but too bad didn't get you any help. I help you.
Bringing on another designer does help.
Yes. And I don't know, we were behind and people didn't seem happy. And when your business is to be creative, when people are burned out, creativity lacks. And we've been there, done that. We've done this before. I mean, throughout my career, I've seen it. But it was Michael, I think, that he just seemed really, really stressed. He's our creative director. I don't know, like Eddie and I went to a happy hour at Pickled Loon, like the second week of January. And I was just thinking, you know what, if we do hire, I was just thinking about Tyler. I want to hire Tyler. And then I just got that idea in my head. And then we did.
Yeah, we did.
But it was, so right now where we're at, so, let's flash forward a couple months. Is our pipeline full? No, not necessarily. We have assumed that cost and put them to work right away, which I knew we would.
Yeah.
Filled the schedule. But everyone's happier.
Yeah.
So again, sometimes you take the person because they land in your lap and you find the work. Also, you take a person because you don't want your other employees to burn out and leave, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want that either. So again, both times that burden is kind of on you and I to find the work.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to just make money. We want to be creative, and hammering down on creatives doesn't work. I
Right.
mean, there's no room.
Scheduling so tight and it just doesn't work. So, allowing them the opportunity, because the thing with working in a creative field, I feel this, and I'm not a designer, but I write and I, help structure websites and all these things. We're creative all the time, but it can't always be turned on. So when we are scheduling so tight and we're asking our design team to pump out results at a certain level that we expect in really crammed weeks, it gets hard. So bringing Tyler on definitely alleviated a lot of that.
So I could my intuition was kind of, like I said, red flags or whatever. Talked to Michael, and he didn't really want to admit. He's like, no, I don't know. Like, I don't want to tell you to hire someone because, then we'll have to bill more. And he still wasn't saying, yes, I need help. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I just knew it, and he didn't have to. And then, and just a few weeks ago, he said, oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So that just kind of comes with experience. But it's something for business owners to look for. If your team is not happy, what can we change?
Yeah.
But let's talk about the flip side, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Sometimes, and we've done this too, where you hire people, you're throwing people at things, and that's not necessarily the issue.
Yeah.
And we've done that in the past too. Sometimes you don't need more people, you need different people.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Or you need better systems.
Yeah.
If you're just adding more people and it's still chaotic, that's not going to do anything either.
I can imagine, and I have been in positions with you, had conversations with you about things, and those are not comfortable conversations to have, and like to really look internal and be like, maybe it's a team thing or maybe it's a person thing.
Or maybe this person isn't in the right role.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
it's somebody, you know.
That's hard to come to terms with that. And I think you do an awesome job with that and kind of push aside like the feelings of it and can say, well, this is what's, at the end of the day, it has to be what's best for business and best for the team as a whole.
Yeah. But it's easy just to say we need more people. We're so busy. We're so busy. We need more people. Well, maybe we're so busy because we're not doing something correctly.
Yeah.
And so I have seen that too. So you may experience this in your business where you're like, I thought I needed more people. And then I remember one time we got, I'll say got rid of, but 3 people left and we were billing the same and doing better. So sometimes, you know, it's not the amount of people, it's the right people.
Yeah.
And some employees take so much managing, you'd save time not having them.
Yeah.
And I can get to that point sometimes where like, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm just going to do it myself. You know, and I can't do everything myself.
Yeah.
So making sure you have the right people and the right systems before you just start hiring, because you don't want to bring someone on just to have to lay them off,
Yeah.
you know, or fire them. You just don't want to do that. So that's why it's such a big deal for business owners. They don't want to do that. It's not necessarily always about the money. It's about, what if I bring this person on and it doesn't work out and now they don't have a job?
Yeah.
I mean, I never want to do that.
Yeah, I think that comes down to kind of the next part that I wanted to get into is like really handling that growth piece as a business owner, and how do you get comfortable with that? Because I think we've had a lot of conversations with our clients, and even when it comes to their marketing, they're like, oh, I just don't know if we're in the position to do that, if we're ready to do that, because we don't want to grow too fast. You know, I feel like every business owner is afraid of growing too fast. And there is such a thing as growing too fast and not having the right things in place. But sometimes you kind of have to get out of your own way and like lean into your team and trust in your team and trust that they're going to help you get through that. But it's not easy.
No, I think it depends on what your comfort level is. In our industry, we're kind of okay with chaos, or we're kind of used to that. I mean, our workflow is never just a steady pace. It's either, you know, it kind of ebbs and flows, busy, not busy, whatever. But I understand when business owners say that because, you know, good news travels slow, bad news travels fast. So they don't want a bad review. They don't want to disappoint their clients. You don't want to, you know, what is that, cut off your nose in spite of your face or whatever. You ever heard? No, that's an old-fashioned thing. You don't want to grow and like upset. Like, we don't want to lose our longtime clients because we didn't give them the right service. And so you want to be careful of that. I've never learned how to grow steady, though. I mean, because we are at the mercy of our clients, right? And so I kind of live with the risk of, you know, every month we're having to fill our pipeline, and that's just the way our industry is.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I did say, though, okay, we're at 4, now we're at 6, I'm not going to hire anymore. Okay, now we're at 7, now I'm not hiring anymore. But I have had like 10, 11, 12 employees.
Yeah.
And I know personally I don't like that.
Right.
I want to work in the business with you guys. I
Yeah.
don't want to just be a manager of people, because for a couple of reasons. I want to stay sharp. I want to understand what's happening in the marketing world. Plus, every time you add a personality to a team, it's a risk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's kind of the next thing that I wanted to get into, and just, you know, how the right team can impact your business, and specifically looking at, you know, small to mid-sized businesses that don't have a ton of people. You know, I see this a lot on LinkedIn. People are like, your team is not your family, your business is not your family. And part of me has to just, I kind of have to clap back at that, because I do feel very connected to our Moxie family here.
Yeah.
You know, we share the good, the bad, everything in between with each other, which could have its pros and cons. You know, I don't know, a business consultant might come in and be like, oh, you shouldn't be that close to your employees, or I don't know. But we've been in positions where we've had the wrong people, or we've been, you know, I think everybody can say they've been part of a team that wasn't the right fit.
Wasn't syncing.
Yeah. So just, you know, I want to talk a little bit about like the magic of the right team and what that can look like.
You know what? I feel like we are so close emotionally and things like that, because what we create is very emotional and personal. Like, you know, we're using our own talents. We're putting everything we're doing is I don't know how to explain that. When you're making creative things, it is personal.
Yeah.
You're kind of putting yourself out there. And so I feel like, we're not making widgets. We don't follow the traction model, and we don't, I just, like you said, good, bad, or ugly. I just do a lot of things on an intuition,
Yeah.
and you guys call me Moxie Mama because I probably am a little motherly that way of, that's all I know. I've never worked corporate. I've always worked small business. And to me, just like honesty is the best answer. But I feel like we're all so close because we have to have a safe space because we're putting ourselves out there.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think of this? But it also takes a special team not to be very judgy. Like, I think no one here thinks they're better than anyone else. We all
100%.
appreciate each other's strengths and weaknesses.
One
and,
thing, honestly, like since hiring Tyler, even, for example, Mo up until this point has been doing all of our like little holiday animation things that we do. And for Easter, we turned it over to Tyler. And Mo was like a proud papa. Like he was just so happy for Tyler and the work that he did. There was no like, oh, they gave it to Tyler.
Yeah, we're not
instead,
competing.
Yeah,
We're
like
not competing.
And I don't know if I don't know if every agency in the world operates that way.
Well, I was a part of a couple agencies that didn't. The first agency I worked at, this was before people had hybrid schedules, worked at home, flexible schedules. But I had a flexible schedule. I was an account manager, and I was paid a percentage of what I billed. I was the only one in the whole agency was paid that way. So I was the only one that had that flexibility. And team members, were like jealous of that.
Yeah.
It only takes one bad apple. I had somebody there telling everybody what I was making, telling them that I was leaving. Doesn't that make you mad? Like starting drama.
Sure.
And I don't deal with drama.
Yeah.
And I don't want drama. So sometimes people unknowingly bring that to a team. I feel like we've been lucky that we don't have that because I don't want to stand for that because that stuff just gets in the way.
Yeah.
My mentor, my first boss, he told me, he's like, the clients give us enough trouble.
Right.
We don't need to be fighting with ourselves.
We love you, clients.
Yeah.
If you're listening, we love you so much.
But, we have a lot of challenges. We're trying to get work done for them. We don't need to be creating our own stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just, and so I feel like that's how everyone is here. And just honest, down to earth communication. Oh, you messed up? That's okay. Let's get it right. Let's do it. I don't play the blame game. I hope not.
Yeah.
I don't play the blame game. Let's just fix it. Let's work together. We'll cry later. Let's just keep going,
right.
Type of thing. But
Which is a good space to be in. Like for example, we just ordered some stickers that were not cheap, and I proofed them by myself and didn't notice that there was an error that happened from the printer. And there was no like shaming me that I did this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to reach out to the company and fix it, and got it fixed, and we got new stickers ordered. And it was just, and also if they wouldn't have sent new ones, it probably wouldn't have been the end of the world,
Or if we ordered new ones, which we had to reorder things.
Right. Like things just happen. We're human. We make mistakes. Right. And you don't need people coming down on you for that. And
you already feel bad enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's like sweating the small stuff is what I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of a little bit more, maybe some advice side of things, because you've hired plenty of employees in your day. What is maybe some advice that you would give to a small business owner that is looking to hire someone for the first time?
You have to hire for the culture.
And how do you know if someone's a good culture fit?
I don't know. I used to have like a set of questions like, you need to make sure they have the skills, but it's really more important to hire for the culture. So, in some ways you can teach people the skills, but they have to have the culture and the right attitude. So there's different things that you can Google culture questions and things. And what I do is I involve all of you.
Yeah.
If all of you think this person's going to be a good fit and you like them, then, because I don't think I've ever just brought someone in. I'm like, what do you guys think? And we all went and talked to Tyler.
Right.
I think at one point. We just want to make sure we're all okay. And everybody was, once I brought it up, even though I think I saw it before everyone else saw the writing on the wall, they're like, oh my God, how do we do it without him? And yes, let's hire, like you guys are all on board.
Yeah.
If you weren't, then maybe I wouldn't have, or and we weren't at our breaking point yet, but we were getting there.
Yeah.
So I just think trying to get to know the person and hire for culture. I mean, in a small team especially.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great advice. Like we spend a lot of time working. You spend a lot of your life at your job. Why would you want to do that around shitty people or people
Right.
that you don't enjoy, people that you don't get along with. And, that is going to happen. Like you said, sometimes there are just bad apples. But if you can prevent that,
Right.
why wouldn't you try?
Yeah, and sometimes you're blindsided and you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
For Tyler, he had never worked in an agency, so he had the basics, the basis of the skills.
Yeah.
We knew that, and we knew he was talented. He was worried about, how does it work here compared to he was working corporate. And so you also have to have a mentorship, some kind of a onboarding training type of a thing for them too. And we're not real formal with it,
Mm-hmm. No.
but we did. And
Yeah.
then we're just, gracious. You have to, give them time to learn too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's been working on that Easter video for a while,
Yeah.
but I'm the one who gave it to him. I said, time for you to take a try at this.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, really? And he was scared and excited at the same time. I'm
He
like,
told me the other day, he's like, I don't know who decides what we submit for the Addies, but I really would like to submit this next year. Tyler, we can submit that for you.
it's only 11 months ago.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, so we want someone that's passionate about what they do and stuff because the other thing to look for on the vice side is to find somebody that fits your management style too. Mm-hmm. Like, I am not a micromanager. I rely on you guys to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So if you know that about yourself and that's how you want to manage, you have to find somebody that can operate that way. I love that. You probably love that too. I'm not
Yeah.
breathing down your neck.
No,
but if
yeah.
somebody wants to know, what do I do next? Make me a list. What do I do next? Probably not a good fit.
Yeah,
So
for
you have
sure.
to be realistic. Not that you're a bad manager because you manage that way.
Yeah.
Because I've been told how many times, oh, you need to train them more. I'm like, I don't know what more to do. Eventually, you've got to take the baton and run.
Yeah.
I can train you all I want,
Yeah.
but I can't. And so, again, that's making sure you find the right person,
Yeah.
talking to
And
them
you've
enough.
also been in situations where you're like, I want to try to train this person and they don't want me to train them. Like
Right.
They,
Yeah.
and I can say wholeheartedly, because you are my boss, my mentor, my friend, the way that you and I work together. I mean, we're going on will be 4 years together.
Mm-hmm.
Probably last week was like my 4-year anniversary. So the way that you have managed me and it kind of that first year, you really taught me the ropes. I had never worked in an agency either. I had some of those soft skills that I think set me up to be a good account manager. But I had to learn a lot from you, and you taught me everything that I know at this point, and then you let me fly. And
Right.
that has been the best thing. And for a while, I was flying one direction, and all of a sudden, I came back from having my daughter, and it was, okay, now you got to fly this direction. And then it was like all new. But you've been there to, help and coach me through those
Yeah.
times too.
I think we should just mention, let's say you don't think you need full-time help and maybe you don't want to hire part-time. Another alternative is to get help another place, is to be, outsourcing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely good to think about.
I mean, you could look into that. Sometimes, maybe you only need someone to help you 10 hours a month, and could another company, do that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of people that you can also find online. We were just talking to our podcast producer, Abby, about this before we started. She
Virtual
has a
assistant.
virtual assistant. So sometimes it looks like that too. You don't have to have someone join your team or be able to be right next to you all the time.
Yeah,
if
so you don't
that
have-
works for your business.
Right. You don't have to kill yourself because you don't need someone 40 hours a week. Maybe just 10 hours a week or 10 hours a month would just take a little bit of load off of you, and then you can think.
Yeah.
But also, doing what really makes a difference in your company and then outsourcing the rest. Like,
Yeah.
I do some bookkeeping, but I have an accounting service that helps me so much. That's not my thing, and I don't have to do that stuff every day. And so that's like a perfect example of what I outsource.
Yeah, for sure. I think in our first guest episode, when we had Liz Fiedler-Mergen from Sunny Mary Meadow come on, she talked kind of at length about how she, her operating system and what she does, like what are the things that she can do, the things that she has to do right now that she has to do in a week, or, then the things that she can outsource. And I think that's a really good thing for someone to follow. And maybe if you're listening to this, go back and listen to that episode to hear exactly what she was saying, because when it gets to a point where things are falling into that pushed off category, or like someone else could handle this, like that's a clear sign for you to
I'm just going to say right now, bookkeeping, accounting, payroll, outsource that.
Yeah, especially because that's like legal shit. You don't want to mess any of that up.
No, and you want a second set of eyes. I'm just saying, easy peasy.
Yeah.
I just brought our accountant flowers yesterday because,
Oh, that was so nice.
it was tax day, and it's just because, just to appreciate her for her team for the whole year.
Yeah, shout out to Landwehr Tax and Accounting.
Whoop,
They keep
whoop.
us going at Moxie.
Keeps me straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I think that you've covered a lot here. I think you have so much valuable insight to share. I love having these conversations with you and just learning more about how to operate a business and the things that you think about when you're making decisions for Moxie.
Oh, I just remembered
Oh,
one
yeah, go ahead.
one little tidbit someone
Yeah.
told me. Hire slow, fire fast.
Oh,
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah. So speaking of that, you might make mistakes hiring. I mean, we all have.
Yeah.
You might hire too many people. You hire the wrong.
Might
So-
not hire someone until you've met with them 3 different times.
Right? Hire slow. That's what I said. That's what Taylor. It wasn't you. I was looking for the right opportunity for you, and then I found it. Yep. We were going to hire Taylor for 3 years, and then
It
3 or
worked
4.
out.
Yeah, that's right.
It could not have worked out better.
Same
so.
thing with Tyler. We had interviewed him years ago,
Yeah.
so I don't forget about these people.
Yeah, no, you don't. No, you don't. If you are feeling like you are stretched thin or dreaming of what more could be possible for your business, maybe it's time to ask yourself, should I start thinking about growing my team? And if you've already started hiring, keep refining. Hire slow, fire fast. Say those words to yourself over and over, because the right people in your business truly will make a difference.
Yes, they do.
Wonderful. Thanks for listening to another episode of Behind the Brand. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Behind the Brand. If you liked this episode, share it with a friend. If you didn't, share it with an enemy. To keep up with us, follow along on our socials. Links are in the show notes below.